Welcome back to Stu Studio, conservative takes on music. So the 2026 BRIT Awards happened over the weekend, and that doesn't just mean British awards, that's the British Recording Industry Trust. And overall, it was pretty underwhelming. There weren't too many political moments or speeches throughout the night, but it did open with one host, Angry Ginge, pointing out that for the first time in 48 years, they've moved the awards from London to Manchester, saying that now everybody realizes that London is a shithole. But that's about as controversial as it got. He was censored on the broadcast, but you can find uncensored clips of everything online. But we'll talk about the notable performances and awards of the night. The first is Somber performed his new song Homewrecker, which was interrupted by a stage rusher, and even that turned out to be some planned stunt. The guy was wearing a jacket that said Somber is a homewrecker on the back, and nobody involved were good actors. And then Somber pretended to recover by going into his big song Back to Friends, which was like the #1 song last summer. It's what shot him into stardom. And I guess for annual awards, it's okay to play your big hit from this past year, but I was hoping he had something new and fresh to share because Homewrecker just wasn't doing it. But overall, bad acting, pretty boring performance. But we have come to expect a lot from scrawny rock stars. And Robbie Williams did an Ozzy Osbourne tribute with a bunch of Ozzy's old bandmates, including Zakk Wylde. So it was a cool moment with pictures of Ozzy floating around in the background. And he did a rendition of No More Tears. But I just don't think that he has the energy to perform a noteworthy tribute to Ozzy. But maybe we should take a break from Youngblood, making it his entire personality to carry Ozzy's torch. So I guess it was kind of refreshing in that aspect. And I remember thinking a couple years ago when Robbie Williams' Monkey biopic came out, like, who is this guy? But I guess he's always been huge in England and just never quite broke through in the States, but it is British awards, so it's fine. Olivia Dean performed her song Man I Love. This is from her second album, The Art of Loving, an album which, surprise, she says is all about love. But this album released in September and has made her an international superstar, not just in England. But the UK is ready to crown her their queen of pop, and we'll have more on that later. Next, Harry Styles performed his song Aperture. This performance was really heavy in choreography with all of the dancers sitting and bobbing and rocking their heads and flailing their hands. And one thing that we learned is that Harry Styles can't do spirit fingers with his left hand. Actually, he can barely bob his head in time at all. Now, this is Harry's first performance of his new album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. I love that name, but so far what I've seen of this era is that it's going to be more lo-fi pop, and I think his music should be way more focused on his great voice and his great performing, and way less on the production of the music and the beats. I think he's way better showcasing his own vocal talent. And then this performance finished with a bunch of head bobbing again with all the dancers lining up on the center of the stage. And I think from such a great singer, it should have a lot more singing to it. There was Rosalia performing Berghain, which I believe was in German. And it opened with a full orchestra and a full choir. Her voice was incredible. But then the dancers split and Bjork came out in a blue rubber dress, and she could barely move around the stage, and in my opinion, she could barely sing too, which I know is like Bjork's whole thing, but apart from a big name cameo, I don't think it really added anything to the performance. Although the worst part about it was like the final third of it, everybody was just dancing to some house beats on stage, which felt really out of place. And again, I think that singers should sing instead of crunk dance. I know that it was supposed to be like a tribute to the Euro House Techno Club that the song is based on, but it was just really awkward. And then what most people are calling the best performance of the night, myself included, was Mark Ronson. Now, he's been a huge collaborator, influencer, songwriter of the last couple decades, and he was not shy about showcasing it. It opened up with him scratching some records with Ghostface Killah, playing his song Ooh Wee, which is always kind of fun to see some real hip-hop. And then probably the best part of his performance was when he went into Valerie with Amy Winehouse. They had like a recording of Amy and a video of her in the background. And he actually played this alongside of a bunch of her old bandmates from the Dap Kings. And then they all briefly went into Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars, which he was a contributor on. So it was some fun, real music. But then Dua Lipa came down from the ceiling on a giant disco ball and brought it back into the overproduced pop section. She sang her song Dance the Night Away, which is another Mark Ronson contribution, and then went into her lesser-known song Electricity, which is a Diplo and Mark Ronson production too. And that was much better, and it even improved when Dua Lipa joined the Dap Kings for a big band pop performance. And it was really a good representation of the blend of styles and how well he does them. him, which is why he also won an award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music. Which brings us to some other winners. Noel Gallagher won award for Songwriter of the Year, and I actually don't know of any songs that he wrote last year. I know how big Oasis is, and I know their influence over all of music nowadays, and I know that their return to performing can't really be understated, but Songwriter of the Year seems a little bit out of place. He did finish his acceptance speech by saying, "Up the fucking Blues," which is a chant to cheer on Manchester United, so that got him some boos at the end, which was kind of funny, but you could tell he saw it coming. Then American jam rock band Geese won the award for Best International Artist. Now, Max Basson of Geese finished their acceptance speech by saying, "Free Palestine, fuck ICE, go Geese." So of course, one of the only American acts had to get some stupid liberal talking point into their speech, which is a huge bummer because I think Geese is great for modern jam bands. I think that they're keeping the movement alive, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. That's kind of part of the whole jam band, the hippie thing, is being liberal and not exactly educated. Now, Olivia Dean was the absolute star of the night. She took home awards for Song of the Year, British Album, Artist, and Pop Act. Now, she's only on her second album, so this is a quick rise to stardom. And I have heard her song Man I Love before, but nothing about it really stood out to me. I never would have guessed that that would be the UK's new queen of pop. But in her acceptance speeches, she does seem very humble and genuine and actually excited to be gaining this level of success, which I love. Those are the kind of people that you want to succeed. She also won the Grammy this year for Best New Artist and talked in her speech about being the daughter of an immigrant to America, which I talked about in my episode about the Grammys, which I think she kind of missed the whole point about Americans' gripes about immigration, but she still seems like a good person. Her music is more feel-good than it is like hard-hitting pop, so it's exciting to see what she's going to do next with that and which direction she'll take it in. But I do really hope that her music stays feel-good and doesn't try to get too edgy, and that she maintains whatever creative control she has over her projects right now, because it seems to be working for her. And I know that these quick rises to fame can really change a person in their creative direction. But overall, there weren't really any controversial or political moments besides Angry Ginge saying that London is a shithole, Noel Gallagher cheering on Manchester United, and then of course Max from Geese, the one American, saying, "Free Palestine and fuck ICE, go Geese." So it's kind of refreshing to see a country just be excited for themselves and celebrate good creative music. But if anything stood out to you, let me know. And thank you for watching this week's episode of Stu Studio, and remember, Jesus loves you.